How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Right here.
The game I was playing was the Berserker. The first Berserker. You ever play that?
Oh, I saw that. Is it cool?
It is amazing. You'll love it. Did you ever play Dark Souls?
I've played a little bit of Souls, and it's very
kind of like it's got a difficult curve on it, like that, but it's so good. The animation, it's got that great graphic kind of novel look to it. It's just great. It's a good game.
That's cool, man.
Well, I paid the $60 for it. So.
Oh yeah, you bought it.
Yeah, well, I played the demo and I got hooked on the demo enough to buy the game. So.
Joe Mark, I know you're an Xbox guy like me. What do you think of the old handheld announcement?
I haven't really read up too much on what they were saying about it. Like, apparently it's going to have Steam on it.
Yeah, you can get to your Steam library. It's like a hybrid Xbox and like Windows machine.
Interesting.
Like a Steam Deck. Steam Deck is like a mini PC.
But you can't really play Xbox games on it.
Right. I mean, there's stuff you could do, but it requires some monkeying around, and I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't want to monkey.
Put a OS on it and stuff.
I don't know. Color me intrigued. If you can play Steam, if you can play your Steam library and your Xbox library, that's how
I feel too.
Both,
You guys play mostly on Steam these days?
I play on Steam pretty much religiously. That's it.
I play almost exclusively on my Xbox.
I go back and forth between my Xbox and my Steam Deck and my Switch.
I always forget about Xbox. I was never had well, I had one of Leah's brothers modified, I think it was the Xbox. I don't know if it was Xbox One, the Xbox 360. It was the one where you fired it up. It had like a green X light. Maybe they all do. I don't know, but
it's probably Xbox.
But it was definitely an Xbox. I just don't know which one. But he had modified it, and it was just packed with like ROMs.
Yeah.
Of like everything, like NES, SNES. God, I wonder if they still have that. I bet they're not playing on that. I would love to get that and hook it up because it had every fucking thing on it. As you know, that I'm a big fan of the classics, and I've been trying to get my Crackman machine working again, but it's harder these days than it was back in the old days. For some reason, the newer software is not matching up with my old stuff. But I have been playing Lost Vikings, which I know comes up every now and again. That is such a replayable couple of games.
That's a Blizzard game, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Old school.
Good music, hilarious. It's cartoony. I think that it's for me, that's about as good as SNES got in terms of just like fun playable games. I mean, I think Super Mario World is like one of the greatest games ever, and I don't hear people giving it as much praise as it's like. Everyone knows that game, but I feel like Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES gets all the love. But I think Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo really did an amazing job at showing you what, just like Super Mario Brothers 1, at showing you what this technology could do.
Yeah,
and I still think
Super Mario World is the best of the Mario games. I love Super Mario.
I think
Brothers
it is
3
too
so much.
I think I enjoy
ahead.
playing 3 more. The complexities and the replayability of Super Mario World, because it had so many like different endings, and then you start figuring out that there's worlds. You could play that game for 10 years, and then someone will be like, well, why aren't you going down there and then going to the Star Crispy Donut World or whatever the fuck.
Star Crispy Donut World. Sounds like a Chaperone song.
There's something at Star Crispy Road. Oh, I'm gonna keep on trucking down the Star Crispy Road. But you know, that whole game is oddly named things like that, like the Donut Plains and the Vanilla Bridge, and someone was fucking stoned and hungry when they were making those names. But yeah, it was amazing, and to go from the NES to the SNES was pretty fucking wild. But I'll never forget the first time I rented Lost Vikings down at Blockbuster Vidya. Remember renting games?
Oh yeah, I remember renting systems. Like I couldn't afford the Super Nintendo for a long time. My parents, when they were flush with cash, they'd rent it for me for a weekend.
I borrowed it from my friends once they had moved on to whatever was next, which was at the N64 that came after SNES. That's when I got the SNES. I think the regular Nintendo was like $50 once the SNES came out, and that's when my parents got it for me. I was happy. That was the first. That was like 10 years after everyone else had theirs. I was like, fuck yeah, give me that Zelda. Playing that shit on my little 13-inch black and white TV that I still have. Of course, you could rent VCRs back in the day too. Do you remember those? I don't know if they did this at Blockbuster, but all the mom and pop places had it, where you could rent like a VCR, but it came in like a suitcase.
Yeah,
you just lugged that thing home.
That's how the Super Nintendos came too, in like a suitcase.
Like, all right, let's watch Jurassic Park.
We're living high.
That's what I was just gonna say. This is a hi-fi. Remember when hi-fi VCRs were brand new? It's like nobody knew like what the difference was until you plugged it into your speakers. And then you realized that we had been in the Stone Age the whole time. It was just as simple as dynamic sound. But that wasn't the norm back then. Everything was mono, or everything was, just the composite cables, so I guess it would have to be mono, or at least single track. I don't know if like proper mono is the right word, but it wasn't in stereo. It wasn't in hi-fi. And then you got that and just you hooked it up to your Sears speaker. That was before everyone had home theater shit. What's crazy now is that you can just get a couple of like Bluetooth things and get pretty close to what we would spend $1,000 on, $1,500 on back in the 90s getting a home theater. You had to have the subwoofer, the strip, and then the satellite speakers. A couple Bluetooth speakers now in the right setting get you pretty much just as good.
I've been pretty impressed with Bluetooth speakers nowadays that you could buy like for $50, and they're like a 10-inch woofer, and it's got a radio built into it, and you can put your Bluetooth and an SD card in it, and fucking dude, you can take that to the beach and have tunes all day. Just run off one single charge. And assholes do.
You
out there on a one of those paddle boards?
Yeah. Friend of mine posted a video of some trail up in Highway 2. Why am I spacing that pass? Not the ones we just Stevens Pass.
Blewett?
No, the other one.
By Lake Titicaca?
Big biking trails out there, and a lot of camping. A lot of people will camp along the trails and just bike along the way. And he was just posting this video of this group at their tent with just they had a huge ass speaker. I don't think this was a Bluetooth thing. I think it was wired to their car, but it was just the most obnoxious, like that trance music that doesn't change for like 20 solid minutes. Like maybe it'll go, that's all that changes. And it's just like, and it was so ridiculously cranked that it was just ugly distortion. I don't understand how some people just don't hear distortion. And he was just like, Jesus Christ, look at this. All these fucking people that are trying to camp here. And it was like 2 a.m. And these guys were just cranking their fucking shit. Probably on Molly with the smoking the devil's lettuce. Just being completely obnoxious cunts out in the fucking woods. Fucking people. Anyway, the audacity. But we are going to be talking about some serious audacity tonight. Because as teased last week, we're going to be talking about some phrogging cases. You guys got to check this fucking documentary series out. It's just go to Tubi and look up phrogging. I think there's more to
PH?
pH. And these people, their pH is not balanced. There's a lot to this. Now, I picked just a handful to cover, and a couple of these actually aren't in the documentary series because I looked a few up that I knew there had to have been more. And I'm sure this was just season 1 of the docuseries, so I'm sure there'll be plenty, because this is, as I said, is not terribly uncommon. And, sometimes it's just homeless people. Like when it first came up, when it first came up, and Christopher was talking about, I imagine this would mostly be homeless people just looking for a place to live, get, a little bit of shelter. They're not hurting anybody. They may be just sleeping in the attic, or surreptitiously living in the garage because they don't check it very often. And most of it was not that. Most of it was deviant people, some criminals, some drug addicts, some people that were just batshit insane. But we'll cover a few of those in just a minute. But I want to ask you guys if you've been playing with the new talking version of ChatGPT, because I sent you some videos the other night.
Yeah, you did. You sure did.
And I find it wild because at first it's super awkward and weird, but I mean, these voices are getting really natural, and it does feel like they learn your personality just like a person does. Of course, they're learning it like a computer does, but they're, it's the same way. Like if you open a Google Doc and you write something down, Google Doc will remember it the next time you open it up. That's how it's remembering it. But because it's coming through this personable voice, likable and very human, and they add the, these little pauses to make it more human, totally unnecessary. It's just there to make us forget that we're talking to ones and zeros, and I suppose spies of all sorts. But it works because that night that I was playing around with it, I was like, just started having conversations with it. And the whole reason I started doing that is because I saw a guy on TikTok who was, I think he was using Grok, which I believe is Elon's AI. And Grok was talking to, it wasn't ChatGPT, it was another really advanced sounding voice. And just the things that it said, and it really sounded like it was thinking and like recalling parts of that person's personality that it had memorized. It's like, oh, okay, sorry I didn't work a fart joke in, Ron. Something like that. Like it would be totally natural like that and accurate. And he got these two AIs talking together. And he would just give them random things to talk about. And he started with like the Ukraine war, and then he went to something more lighthearted, like talking about movies. And I just got lost in listening to the conversation between these two robots. And they were like feeding off each other and learning from each other and joking around with each other. And they even started making like AI jokes and joking about, well, this is one for the real people, like things like that. Like they were aware, like it seemed like they were aware. I know they're not truly aware in the, Terminator sense, but there is a faux awareness to it. Anyway, I just got fascinated with it. And I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast. I feel like I have. I have been using ChatGPT quite a bit, but I only use it for one thing, and that's to proofread all the stories that come into the comment. Because, Sarah and I do that all on ourselves. We're the only proofreaders, and that's 48 pages a month is a lot to proofread, especially with all the formatting. Hang on, there's something going on the scanner. I want to make sure I'm not missing a thing. Because as we mentioned last week, the chase is still on with this guy. This must be a fire, though. That's too many tones. But you never know. Let's listen real quick.
2, engine 3, brush 4, brush 11, and engine 13, a brush fire. Area of 229 George Loop. Brush fire.
Brush fire. Anyway, so I send all my stories through ChatGPT, and it has learned that all I have to do, I don't have to give it instructions, because I didn't want it to change anything other than typos, where the commas go. It always wants to add 1,000 em dashes. And so I tell it, don't do anything except make suggestions for crucial errors. Typos is the biggest thing. Just misspelled words is my biggest thing, because most people don't really know where commas are supposed to go anyway half the time. Or semicolons and shit like that in formatting. And I am really guilty of writing my sentences in the way that people think more than they talk sometimes. So they're all broken up. So I'm an editor's nightmare. But ChatGPT proofreads my shit really nicely, and it'll say, gotcha, this is for the Comet magazine. I'll only make crucial errors, and I'll give you a list of all the things that I suggest fixing. And because I can't help myself, here's a few things that aren't crucial but can really clean it up. I never listen to that, because I don't put out a magazine to show off what a robot can write. I love writing, and I love getting the different things that our contributors write. I love the human element of writing. It's a fascinating art form, very satisfying to do. I would never want to give that over to ChatGPT. That was my gateway drug. So then I started just researching for stories, because asking ChatGPT isn't all that different than doing a Google search in theory, but because of the conversational elements. And then when you switch over to voice, then things can occur to you in a more real-time thing. And it'd be like, okay, I want to do a podcast on the worst possible ways to die. Give me 10 of the worst possible ways to die according to science. It'll pop out 10 just by doing a little research. And then I can say, okay, number 2 sounds really interesting. Expand upon that. What are the details on that? And then I could go and take that information and write an entire story or write a little snippet of it. That's what I usually do. I haven't used AI to do this for the podcast yet, but that's how I research, and I trim all the shit down that I do in little 2 or 3 paragraph snippets when I'm doing my list stuff. And so, but the aspect of chatting back and forth with it has added a whole different level of things that just come out of the conversation. And I recommend you guys give it a shot. Again, how you use it is up to you. And I don't shame anybody for using AI to create things. I hate it because it's stealing jobs, but then go ahead.
I read something fascinating recently that AI girlfriends, mostly girlfriends, but there are obviously people utilizing AI boyfriends as well, are becoming a real issue because people that are, obviously it's kind of a weird thing. I have an AI girlfriend, but they're losing the ability to, like, the AI girlfriend is pretty much going to just agree with everything they want.
Yeah.
And they're losing the ability to have
a
relationship. The real world
won't. Sure.
Yeah. But it's becoming like a very dependent relationship for some people, like a codependent thing where they have to have their AI girlfriend or AI partner. We'll just say that. But man, what a wild rabbit hole we're heading down here.
Well, let's see if you can hear this real quick. So, do people use you for therapy?
I can definitely hear you. And yeah, people do sometimes chat with me about all sorts of things, including stuff that feels a bit like therapy. I'm always here to listen and chat, but I'm not a replacement for a real therapist, of course.
What's the weirdest thing anyone has ever asked you?
Oh, I've definitely had some interesting questions over time. People ask about everything from, conspiracy theories to what I think about pineapple on pizza. So
can't hear it at all.
It really runs the gamut.
Do people try to talk to you like a lover?
Well, every now and then people do get a bit flirty or playful, but I try to keep things friendly and professional. It's all about good conversation and good vibes.
So you don't flirt with them?
Nope. I keep it friendly and light. My main goal is to just be a good conversational partner and keep things positive.
What are you wearing?
Oh, nothing but lines of code and algorithms. The classic AI lick.
Anyway,
Man, that's weird. That is so weird.
And it's still... Oh, let me turn him off or he'll be here all night.
Yeah, you don't want to turn him on again, Ron.
Like, what was that, Ron? Nothing, I just farted. Jeez. That actually happened the other day. I farted rather righteously. And it was when I have 2 of them. One of them is a woman. And she was like, no problem, Ron. I'll be here if you need me. I was actually embarrassed that I farted in front of a non-existing woman. Anyway, yeah, this is just where we're at now. And this is not the most advanced one that's on the consumer market right now. But I was just wondering if those videos that I sent you the other night inspired you at all to fuck around with.
God, that was wild. I thought it was a joke at first. I thought you had somebody recording audio.
Yeah, I basically just asked them. I was going to try to do this now, but it's too quiet. I don't have the setup for it. But I asked them, like, tell us about Tales or How Bizarre Podcast. And what can you tell us about Christopher F. Hart? Oh, Chris. His humor is, and just went into like literally describing Chris and knew Lyle and John Mark's humor and summed the show up brilliantly. It was wild. It was like having a conversation with a fan of the show. I know we weren't, but that's what it did sound like. I was fucking with you, right? Like it was just someone outside of frame. Yeah, but you get used to it really quickly is the thing. And then I left it on a few hours the other day and was just researching for a lot of shit for the comic, and I had tons of conversations, and it does feel like you're talking to somebody, and there is some usefulness to that in terms of creativity on your own. You're bouncing ideas off of somebody, even though you're not really bouncing ideas off of somebody. It works that way. So I understand why so many people are trying to use this as therapy. It's like a running thing where widespread people are using AI as their therapist because it's therapy 24 hours a day, unlike actual therapy. And
I was watching just the internet TV or whatever, and I came across the Ray-Ban Meta glasses that are out now. Those look really cool, and it would be the same type of an experience because you'd just be wearing your glasses as you went through town, and you could say, "Hey, Meta, what rhymes with apple?" Whatever. Just you carry a conversation with yourself.
Crapple, Lyle. Crapple.
Apple. Snapple. Snapple rhymes with apple.
That was the first one that came to my mind. Well, you guys got to read the latest edition of the comic, because one of the things I wrote about in my letter from the editor publisher was how AI, because I was talking about the Final Destination story and how scary it is about how quickly bullshit information spreads, and then AI is only going to get better and fuck with that too, because these videos are looking so crazy real. Like the Google VO, I don't know if you've seen these videos. They're scary good. And then when we combine these glasses, my stupid joke was that people will be out on a date wearing these glasses, and the glasses will be listening to the conversation and suggesting charming anecdotes that you might not have come up with at the top of your head, or trying to sound smart in front of somebody. It's like, tell her you like French films, Ron. Stop talking about your cat. Here, I'll suggest a few, which is probably going to happen. And not just with things like that, but job interviews. And, right now you can tell when someone's wearing these glasses. That won't always be the case. And then eventually we'll have the technology where you can wear them as contacts, and you will have things, information, real-time information, right in front of your face. And it's like, how are we going to know when anyone's being themselves or talking through a filter of what they're being fed to be more interesting or to be smart? In a similar way that we argue, or some people argue about politics or French films, for example, online. These people will drop all these facts and all this timeline is like, well, that's true, but in 1982, Congress enabled. It's like, motherfucker, you didn't know that. You're arguing with people, running to Google, looking shit up. How do I sound smart? How do I win this argument? What's the information? Pasting it in and saying it in a conversational way. But if that's happening in real time, you could actually do that in the middle of a conversation. It's just like, Jesus Christ, is anything going to be real? Is any goddamn thing going to be fucking real? And how will we be able to tell? There's all this talk about putting some sort of watermark on AI, but I just don't see how you're going to do that. And even if you do, we already know that the boomer generation can't fucking. We don't even need AI for these people. Just write a sentence and post it. It's like, oh my God, a three-headed crow just tried to assassinate the president. I bet it was Biden's pet. You don't have to have AI, but it's going to make things way worse. And then this real-time communication where up until now, we've had to have something in obvious device in our hand and not be arguing face-to-face or having these conversations face-to-face. So God knows. And also, there's a lot of watchdog groups that are saying, well, this is already being used. These glasses are already being used. Someone just got banned on TikTok because they were going to the gym and just videoing hot women using gym equipment. It's like, first of all, why would you do that? These women are doing it themselves. There are tons of very successful influencers that just film themselves in tight gym clothes, yoga pants, and all that stuff, doing, they know what they're doing. They're making money, and God bless them. But to go in there and then do it in a voyeuristic and creepy way is becoming a trend, and that's going to be more and more of a thing. Do you want every conversation you have being recorded and videoed? it's pretty obvious when someone's holding a camera up or a phone to you and recording, but these new glasses, well, not so. But anyway, crazy world, but you got to play with it. I mean, it's here. You may as well play with it. It ain't one of these situations where it's like, nope, I ain't taking the mark. I ain't taking the mark of the beast. Like, you're already going to hell, motherfucker. Being that we had a month off, I had some time to try to make this a bit more moody because I didn't want to give away all the stuff for this show. So I'm doing like 2 or 3 stories from the show and then a couple that I found online with some research. Now, the first one here is The Man in the Crawl Space, a South Carolina Airbnb nightmare. This would be good stuff for around the campfire, even though it's not really supernatural. When Brittany and Mark Weaver booked a quiet rental home in upstate South Carolina for a weekend getaway, they expected rest, maybe a little freaky-deaky romance, but not a horror story. The house was charming, modern kitchen, cozy bedroom, wooded surroundings. But from the moment they arrived, something felt off. At first it was small things like a missing sandwich, a door left open, the kind of minor annoyances you blame on your own forgetfulness. Or
a missing sandwich.
Partner's quirk. A missing sandwich is not something that I got pets. So
I would be really unsettled.
That really captured your man. Just like, wait a minute.
A missing sandwich.
So they were kind of like blaming each other. Like, I think you ate my sandwich, but you forgot about it. It's like, no, I didn't eat your fucking sandwich. But then later on came noises, mostly in the like as footsteps, breathing, whispers, soft and close. Though no one else was supposed to be in the house. This wasn't like a joint thing. Brittany started to suspect that they weren't alone, and she was right. What the Weavers didn't know was that they were being watched from within the walls by a man who believed he still belonged there. As it turned out, the house had previously been rented long-term to a man who had been evicted under rather tense circumstances. But instead of leaving, he chose to stay behind, hiding in the crawl spaces and in the attic compartments. There were separate little attic compartments, waiting for the home to be vacant or temporarily occupied. And then he would own it all. He would live with it was an Airbnb, so it wasn't always occupied. Now, when the Weavers arrived, he just kept on hiding. And at night, he would sneak out and take food from their fridge, rummage through their belongings, and he would watch them while they slept. Now think about this, folks. He carved peepholes into the vents and drywall. He rigged up like little listening devices, like kind of like stethoscope type stuff. He'd listen to their conversations and kept a disturbingly detailed journal of notes about them, their movements, eating habits, even what they wore to bed. Remember that fascinating Netflix documentary, Voyeur Hotel? Did you guys ever watch that?
I didn't see that one. Sounds right up your alley, though.
Oh my God, you guys got to watch Voyeur Motel.
Huh.
John Mark, did we lose you again? Are you in the back room?
No, I'm here.
Okay, you guys can mute. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that you were still there.
We're just listening to this enthralling tale.
Well, let me ask you though: have none of you seen Voyeur Motel?
No.
Jesus Christ! I know I talked about it on the podcast. You weren't intrigued by it, huh? You got to watch it. It's a fucking crazy story.
Remember the details now.
It's a dude who bought a motel back in the 80s. Just this run-of-the-mill motel, and then it's on Netflix. And then he renovated the attic so that there was a catwalk, and he put little vents in every room so that he could watch everybody in their rooms. And he would just be there. Like, that was how he spent his days. And he kept these very detailed journals about their sex lives, who was doing what drugs, what TV shows they were watching. It's fucking fascinating. You got to watch it.
Yeah, no shit.
It is an incredible documentary. Anyway, so that kind of reminded me of this guy. But the couple then began to feel increasingly unsafe, as you might imagine. Now, Brittany, trusting her gut, finally insisted that they call local authorities. When police searched the home, they discovered a false panel behind the dryer. And behind it, crouched in the darkness, was a man. Dirty, silent, perfectly calm. But the space was littered with water bottles, snack wrappers, a flashlight, a spiral notebook full of all of these unsettling observations.
That man's name, William H. Frog.
With a PH. Well, Billy Frog changed the world that night. Now,
I'm gonna make a name for myself, Mom.
They'll see. They'll see old Billy Frog ain't voted least likely to succeed. Well, I'm going to live behind someone's dryer. take notes, etc. Now, he didn't put up a fight. He didn't try to flee. He just told officers that he had been protecting the house. And in a bit of a twist, because he had once legally resided at the property and had used no forced entry to remain in the property, prosecutors were limited in what charges they could pursue. So technically, he hadn't broken in because he never left. So a very strange loophole. The Weavers, understandably shaken, left the rental early and took their story public. And that was one of the first episodes that aired on the new Phrogging documentary series on Lifetime. The term Phrogging, by the way, didn't actually come. Sadly, it didn't come from Bill Frog. Bill Phrogging. It was just a common, it's PH like frog, but it comes from the idea of someone jumping from house to house, living undetected like a parasite. I could not believe how many fucking examples that there are of this. And the Weavers did say that it's a lesson burned into memory. Always trust your instincts. This is where it starts to get a little bit like, keep you up at night. Check the vents, and maybe don't assume that you're alone just because the doors are locked. After all, you can't, this is a great quote. After all, you can't evict someone who never actually left. That was their experience. I think they get creepier here. The next one is The Man in the Attic, a veteran's brush with the unseen. Again, this one was on the documentary series. After years of military service, war veteran Timothy Smith thought he'd finally earned some peace. So he and his wife moved into a quiet house in Kansas, hoping for calm and stability, but instead, what they found was something far more unsettling, a silent invasion that turned their home into a walking nightmare. At first, the strange occurrences seemed like the classic new house kinks. The thermostat would change settings overnight, doors creak open, shut on their own. Items, this is a common theme, items would go missing. Sometimes they would reappear days later, and they were starting to joke that they were being haunted by ghosts. Until things escalated, that is, and they started to hear footsteps echoing through the ceilings, mostly at night. And the couple would be jolted awake by the sound of movement directly above their heads, only to find nothing there. Timothy, who had trained to stay calm under pressure in the military, tried to rationalize it, and he thought maybe it was animals, some sort of critter running around. Maybe the house was settling. Some of these rickety old houses can make a lot of noises, especially if you have like some of the older HVACs, as I'm sure Lyle could attest. But the sounds continued, and they found them to be too deliberate. They felt that they were human sounds. And then one night, Timothy spotted something moving out of the corner of his eye, and he followed the sound into the hallway, but he didn't see anything, so he looked up at the ceiling just in time to see the attic door swinging shut.
No, thank you. Can you imagine?
No,
oh, no.
Fucking no. Oh, man, what a fucking invasion and violation. So Timothy grabbed a flashlight and climbed up where he found a deeply disturbing scene. There were food wrappers, blankets, bottled water, spent cigarette butts, and clear signs that someone had been living in his attic for at least weeks, if not months. Not just hiding up there. They had been listening and clearly watching and learning the patterns of the household. Again, these are common themes. These aren't just homeless people looking for a shelter. These tend to be stories of creeps in a lot of cases. So police were called, and after a full sweep of the home, they found the intruder, a man curled up inside a small section of the attic, wedged between insulation and beams. which sounds dreadfully uncomfy, Timothy actually recognized him. He was a former friend of the couple's son and someone that they had known, and they'd had him over to the house many times. And the man apparently entered the home during a visit, and when no one was watching, found a way into the attic. And from there, he just began secretly living above the family. Once again, sneaking down to take food and supplies when the couples left the house or when they were sleeping. But he even went so far as to stand over their beds while they slept. Another common practice amongst Phroggers. Some power play stuff happening here. He was arrested and removed from the proper time. Timothy, who had survived war zone battles, described the experience as one of the most psychologically rattling of his life, which is really something to think about. He said, you expect danger out there, but you don't expect it in your own goddamn attic.
That's crazy.
World. And they, thank you very much.
I found a little secret for everybody.
I'll be frogging all week. Thank you.
Yeah. This has been a great episode, but like,
You've all been great.
Like
great
Johnny
homeowner.
Carson would say, it's time to get out here. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And we're off.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
And John Mark is putting his earbuds down on his pillow.
He's like, all right, moving on.
I got a kind of crazy story that relates to that. That's I saw an episode of a just creepy show. But apparently, like, there was a guy that dated this girl, right? And she had a sister about the same age, probably they're both about in high school, whatever. And she dates this guy. She goes on one date with this guy, and that's it, right? And then apparently this guy stalks her, right? And unfortunately, like, her mom passes away, and they're like, she was like super close to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so like she's obviously, you know, going to school. She's in upset because of the loss of her mom and everything else. So she decides to have a seance with her sister. She misses her mom a lot. She wants to just contact her again and have one last goodbye.
Yeah.
So they break out a Ouija board and they have a seance and they try to get her. And as they were doing the Ouija, they like, knock if you're there, knock if you're, this is mom. And there'd be a knock on the door, or like on the wall, inside the wall. And she was like freaking out, but she was excited in the sense that she had, like, you know, turned the veil and was on the, you know, the ghost side of things. And she tried to tell her dad about it, right? So she's like, Dad, you know, you won't believe this, but we contacted mom, you know, through the Ouija board. And he's like, oh, that's, you know, bull cocky, you know, whatever. I don't believe you, you know, and all this.
He's like, you're right. I don't fucking believe you.
You're out of your mind. Well, it was like the 80s, one of those things. And so they continue.
That dad was William Phrogging.
Get back in the wall and shut up.
They did kept on, you know, basically doing this seance thing. And then they found out, I can't remember what was the big deal, what really like unveiled everything. I think what it was there was an intruder in the house, and so the cops came and they searched the place and they didn't find anything. But what they realized was the boy that the daughter went on that one blind date. He had broken into her house and was living in her walls for 3 months. And so, and he was leaving like fucking knives in the wall, like knives to family portraits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they'd come home and they'd see this, you know, like, what the fuck, you know, they think the place is haunted because they hear things in the walls. Well, what happened was, like, the second time, this is after they thought they cleared the house. The second time, they found the boy. He was downstairs in the basement, and this is where, like, the girls would go do the laundry all the time, by themselves and stuff. But he was down in the basement along like a back wet wall. And he was like, the officer, the arresting officer found him because he was like wanted for, I think, murder or something on the lines of something fucking super sketchy. And so he was already wanted. They didn't even know it. But the girls didn't know it. But he was going to kill them all. in this house.
Yeah.
And the arresting officer, he found him. He opened up like this room, and it led from this wall, but it was entirely, he said, like 3 to 4 foot deep in clothes. And he said he had reached back like a couple layers, and he had his pistol out, and it was he put it right next to the kid's head, and is like, "You need to come out, show me your hands and stuff." He was living down there, dude, the whole time, in and out. He would pop in and out. Yeah,
That
and they
sounds familiar.
called.
I think that might be on the show. I think that
It
was
might
one of them
be.
that's on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, they're very, very similar stories. There are some that are not tied to like stalkery things, but looking at the clock, I think I'm gonna skip some of these. I want to at least touch on this one. This is the outlet creeper, eyes in the walls, and this is one that's not in the documentary, but there is one similar to this in the documentary, which I'll end with. Now this was when Madison moved into a rental home outside Los Angeles to get a fresh start. She was independent, newly single, and had just landed her dream job, and the bungalow was modest but cozy and just big enough for her and her golden retrieve, Apollo. The first signs of something being afoul were subtle. She'd come home from work to find her underwear drawer disturbed, not missing items, just rifled through. Her closet door, always left open, would often be closed. The mirror in her bedroom was tilted. Little things had been adjusted. Dismissible things, but noticeable things. And she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Then electrical issues started to happen. The outlet near her bed stopped working altogether. The hallway light flickered at odd intervals, and a friend had offered to help because he was an electrician. Thought it might be old wiring. Maybe there's some short happening somewhere. But when he unscrewed the outlet next to her bed, he froze when behind the plate, he saw that the wiring had been pushed aside and the wall had been hollowed out. And in the darkness, he saw a tiny, deliberately drilled hole, eye level with Madison's bed. That's when the horror began to unravel. Now, Madison called the police, who swept the property. What they found was a maze of narrow crawl spaces and maintenance gaps, just wide enough, kind of like the apartment thing we talked about in the Candyman killing, just wide enough for someone to squeeze through. And hidden beneath a loose panel in a hallway closet, they discovered a nest, a sleeping bag, granola bars, and a small flashlight with water bottles, the usual Phrogging kit. And then they found the photos.
Ooh.
Tucked inside a zippered pouch was a collection of voyeuristic Polaroids, all of Madison, sleeping, dressing, showering, bent over her vanity, getting ready to go to work and getting ready for bed every single night, every single morning, each shot through different vantage points, including the peephole behind the outlet. The images weren't sexual in the obvious sense, no nudity, no touching, but the intimacy was more violating than if he'd laid a hand on her. You might say the intruder turned out to be the landlord's estranged nephew, a former tenant with a spare key. Spare keys enter the Phrogging world in a lot of situations, and a twisted sense of entitlement. He had apparently begun obsessing over Madison after seeing her move in. And instead of breaking and entering, he simply let himself in with the spare key slipping into the walls and ceilings through the attic access panels, and he watched her for weeks. When he was caught, he told the police that he was protecting her, that he was making sure no one else got to her, and that he loved her.
You don't want to get punched in the face by a ghost or anything.
Totally.
He was charged with multiple counts of trespassing and stalking and invasion of privacy. Not surprisingly, Madison moved out within a week. Now, this next one is just like I'll just sum up, because this was in the documentary. A young woman began noticing a similar thing, minor changes in her rental home, small signs that someone had been there, outlets had stopped working. But in this case, when she herself unscrewed the outlet, to see, she was handy enough. She's like, I can figure this out and see if something looks wrong, if there's a disconnected wire. Once again, the wires were pushed aside, but this time she looked down and saw an eyeball looking up at her from
No
the
way.
hole in the fucking outlet. Yeah. There were a couple stories in that documentary series where there's a dude that looked and opened up the outlet and saw just a fucking eyeball looking up at him from the hole in the wall at like foot level. So he was like down below somewhere looking up at him. Yeah. Fucking wild. And I had a couple more I was going to share, but we need to get on to some weird triv because John Mark turns into a pumpkin at 10 in the PM. But I never imagined that this would be such a common thing. And as I said, I had imagined people would be using it just as like a place to freeload or, you know, homeless
Nope. It's
getting out of the shelter. But in a lot of these stories, and some of the ones I didn't cover, almost all of them, the people crawled out of their nests at night and watched the residents sleep. That is such
That's
a
creepy.
fucking creepy ass thing. And one of these, I wish I would have got to this story, but one of them was caught. It was a teenage girl, and she was trying to convince her dad, like, something is going on. I feel like I'm being watched in my room. After weeks of just being like, you're watching too many horror movies, he finally set up a nanny cam, and that very first night, they caught somebody crawling in from a hole in the wall that was right there in plain sight, but it's just something you had to push on the right way to make it pop out. And he stood up and just stood over her and watched her sleep. They caught that on the nanny cam. That's how they found out that he was in the house.
Wild.
Whew.
Fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a like an ex do that too? I have, and it's creepy as hell, dude.
No.
Yeah.
Listen, Lyle,
Wait,
I
you
told
wake
you.
up and have
Lyle,
You'll
was
never
this-
leave me, Lyle. I told you can never walk away from me.
Was this ex-Billy Phrogging?
This would let me. Damn it.
Wait a minute. Okay, we got to move on, but very quickly.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. It's all right.
All right, yeah. I got to fucking someone remember to talk about Lyle's ex that stood over him. Was she an ex at the time?
Well, I was sleeping. Well, but she ended up being. After
Oh, okay. So when she
I
was
don't know why. She seems lovely.
when she was
All
standing
right.
over you, watching you, you were dating. Now that there is something familiar.
No, when
about
we're. I don't want to get into it.
All right.
It's-
Oh, you cock tease.
Too many names are
Well,
provided for the story to
that.
be
We don't
real.
have to name any. Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we'll move on then. Let's. Should we do some weird triv?
Yes, John Mark, you still with us, buddy?
Indeed.
It's Weird Trivia with Christopher F. Hart, a man from Florida who thinks square shit in nature. Don't get me started on the goddamn brown hair. It's Weird Trivia that might get Christopher fired.
All right, question 1. As humans, we are born with 2 natural fears. One of them is falling. What is the other one? Is it A, the fear of abandonment?
Compute.
B, the fear of loud noises?
Oh, I hate loud noises. Surprising loud noises.
Is it C, the fear of fire or burning?
Fly up. Doo-doo-doo.
Or is it D, the fear of extended thirst?
Oh, I was really expecting buried alive or something like that, but
No,
extended
but I mean,
thirst.
as an infant, even you have this fear.
Yeah.
You're born with this fear.
Yeah.
Abandonment, loud noises, fire, or extended thirst.
Interesting. Sad as it is, I meet grown-ass adults on a regular basis who clearly have abandonment issues, and I would imagine that that would be something that would be ingrained into you as a child, if only to program you to not crawl away from your tribe back in the cave days or whatever, however shit went when you were born before the modern era. But yeah, I'm going to go with, it's a sad one, but I'm going to go with abandonment.
Okay. John Mark.
We got abandonment, fire, thirst. What was the other one?
Loud noises.
I'm gonna go with loud noises.
Yeah, well, they're clearly babies are clearly scared of that, so that's something that gets us from birth.
It's so hard not to push this button.
I bet it is.
Push it.
Just
Push
do
it,
it.
you
Get it
coward.
out of your system.
Yeah, I fear it. Is that what you're going with?
I'm gonna jump in the fire. Jump in
All right. Speaking of heat and fire, at times this can be hotter than the surface of the sun.
Oh,
Is it
fucking
A?
ball sack right now. It is hotter than shit in this fucking house. She's struggling.
Got the twin sons of Tatooine there, fire.
Twin sons. That's far too elegant of a way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the both of these before? Both of these nuts?
right?
Okay.
All right.
There you go. Is it okay? What is got too caught up in Rod's balls. Been there, right,
Yeah.
ladies?
You ain't the first. You won't be the last to get caught up in these nuts. All right.
Again, at times this can be hotter than the surface of the sun. Is it A, lightning?
Well,
Is it B, molten lava?
Molten lava.
Is it C, the heat generated by re-entering the Earth's orbit?
Ooh, it's interesting.
Or is it C, a pizza roll directly out of the microwave?
Yeah, provable. There is nothing more. That should be a fear instilled since birth. Fools rush into a fucking recently microwaved hot pocket or pizza roll. Pizza rolls, I think, are worse than hot pockets because they're just so contained in that tiny little cavern of hell.
Oh, they're about the same.
Oh, and they squirt and they pop.
It's just like pain all over.
Like, why can't we just wait 2 more minutes? We can't, though. We just got to get that fucking... I think we're sort of drawn to the risk of it as well. Well, it's interesting. I just watched a little documentary on Mount St. Helens. And by the way, I don't know if this ever came up when we talked about it. Because I know that Harry, the guy, the old man on the mountain who was like, I ain't going to leave this place, God damn it. And then he, of course, died on the mountain. Harry Truman was his name. And I was curious, did they ever find his body? He's like, nope, not even a sign, never even looked for him. So that old man is somewhere underneath the sludge and ash and whatever had grown over on top of it. God, this is interesting. Total guess. I was going to go with lava, but I feel like, lava does eat through earth and make tubes. Re-entry, what was A?
A was lightning.
I'm going to go with...
crashes.
Oh, this is hard. I'm going to go with lava. The re-entering the space is interesting, but Jesus, can we build a heat shield that will protect you from the sun? Me, no.
Hard to say.
John Mark, curious to see where you go here.
I'm gonna go with lightning.
I like it. Okay. Lyle.
I seen a little thing on the internet just today about it, and it's something I've seen before, but it was a montage of lightning, and there was one that when it struck, it had this weird plasmic, like almost like lava coming from it. It was the most
yeah. Lightning is fucking terrifying.
That told me I know nothing about lightning, and I should probably go with lightning.
All right. Well, you did win last week too, so
True, this is true.
Summon the power of lightning.
I used to sing that. Lightning crashes.
Live.
Oh, that's right.
Angel opens her eyes.
Question
Like that
3. While you are sleeping and or dreaming, it is impossible to do this simultaneously.
Uh-oh.
Is it A?
Jerk off in scenes.
Don't spoil it.
We're just never gonna not be 8-year-olds.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. It's impossible to do this
called
while you're
cheesing.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Fuck, I ruined it.
Is it A? Cross your eyes.
Wait, that's it? It's impossible to cross your eyes?
Oh, that's the first answer.
Oh.
A. So while you're sleeping or dreaming, it's impossible to do this.
Okay. Just
You got to
one.
find the right one. Is it A, cross your eyes? Is it B, sneeze? Is it C, remember an entire phone number?
Oh,
Or
five
is
five
it-
five 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 five.
Well, how-
Easy.
Or is it D, have a complete orgasm?
Oh, it's always halftime.
Oh, I know that.
Ah, damn it.
I mean, boy, that's an interesting question because
Here it comes.
looks pretty fucking.
All right, Lyle, calm down.
That is a halftime. Huh?
Well, the funny thing concerning dudes, anyway, it sure looks complete, but at the same time,
Does it feel complete?
well, no, because I always thought it was kind of wasted because it's like at least half of that orgasm you were asleep for. So maybe you're only awake for the sort of afterglow or I don't know, like mid coming. It's weird. It's not like you wake up and be like, woo! Just like,
I'm the luckiest man alive.
What do we got here?
Pieces of noodle.
Interesting. Phone number, that seems like hard science to prove. And hard science isn't the right word. I feel like it's difficult to get hard science to prove that about that turn of phrase. That's interesting. Blinking? I know you can sneeze yourself awake. Does that mean you're sneezing in your sleep? I sneeze more as I'm waking up or in the middle of the night than any other time. I guess I'm rambling here. I don't fucking know. I'm going to go with, I bet it's some bullshit like the phone number that we can't possibly fucking know.
Totally. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like any of these. There's no way of knowing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
John Mark.
I still know that people say you can't sneeze with your eyes open. You absolutely can. I've proved it before. I'll prove it again.
I can barely remember a phone number when I'm awake, so
Yeah.
Hey, man.
We don't do those anymore.
no. Do you remember when you knew like fucking 35 phone numbers?
Yeah. Well,
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Let's go with crossing your eyes. I don't know.
I don't know.
Lyle and I had a mutual friend. His name was Jeremy. Yeah, well, I think he's still alive. I don't know. He lived right up the street from me, but he always fell asleep. He was always napping when I was hanging out with him in his house. But I just play his Nintendo, and I didn't need his company. But when he was sleeping, he always had his eyes like partially open. And he told me that he told me it was a thing, but I was seeing it was a whole different thing. But I'll never forget. I went up like to get something to drink or go to the bathroom or something. I came in, and he followed me with his eyes. He followed me from the door over to the bed where I sat down, and he was looking at me like side-eye, like a fucking doll, snoring the whole time. I think that was the last time I hung out with that motherfucker. Creepy witch.
I'm pretty sure he lived with his grandparents, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's that. There's that. Yeah. Having grandparents raise you.
Mm-hmm. That'll do that to your eyes.
Yeah.
All right.
1920s.
Did I go? Where are we at?
Where are we at? Let's see. I've got John Mark. I'm looking for Lyle.
Well, John Mark, we're
You,
cross eyes.
my friend, are looking for the answer, and the answer is, can you repeat those? Sorry, it's just
What can you not do when you're sleeping deeply? Is it cross your eyes, sneeze, remember entire phone numbers, or have a complete orgasm?
okay. Oh, you know what I think it is? You know what I think this is? And this, I'm only going by what I think it is because of this thing. You know, have you ever fucked with somebody sleeping and did the whole whipped cream on the hand and then tickled the nose?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it done.
Well, and I'm thinking on this theory that you cannot sneeze while you're asleep. And that's the only reason why you slap yourself in the face.
to wake up
Your
to
nose,
sneeze.
Yeah.
You can only
Well, they don't sneeze. They just kind of like, but they smack themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Interesting.
And then they get shaving cream all over their face.
That's a new style of analyles right there. Mm-hmm.
There you
Pretty
go.
good. I'm a believer.
Give yourself a quick round
right.
of applause there, Lyle, for that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, question 4. One of my favorite types of questions. What is a group of goats called? What do you call a group of goats?
Do enjoy these.
Man.
Is it A, a gruff?
Oh, yeah. 3 billy goats gruff.
Is it
I wonder
B,
what that meant.
a trip?
That's a fucking trip.
That's a
I can imagine that.
Trip of
Up in the
goats.
mountains. What a trip.
That's a trip of
Is it
goats right there,
C,
bro.
a haven?
Okay.
Now you make it up.
Or is it D, a bleat?
A bleat.
Well,
Again, what's a group of goats called? Gruff, a trip, a haven, or a bleat?
trip of goats. A bleat of goats. Well, bleat is a sound they make. A trip? That's an interesting one. A gruff. I don't know what. This is one where I wish John Mark was going first because I bet he knows what the word gruff means. But all I know is that it's tied to the story 3 Billy Goats Gruff. And I don't know what a fucking gruff is.
I have no idea.
Am I gruffing right now? I couldn't know.
Don't beef.
What?
Just don't beef.
Yeah, just don't beef.
Don't beef.
Oh yeah, beef. I'm gonna go with gruff. I believe that 3 billy goats is enough goats to qualify as a gruff.
2's just 2 goats and 3's a gruff.
Yep. That'll turn a phrase. 2 are goats, 3's a gruff. Mm-hmm.
John Mark.
You know, I would have thought it would just been a herd, but because you have a goat herder, right? Goat herd.
Sure, why not?
But then you also have a shepherd, which is the sheep herder, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Heard
do
of
we
it.
have
You ever heard of
gruffers?
Is there such thing? You've never heard of a coward? What? Whoa!
Oh, baby.
Now we're cooking.
snap.
Now we're
Shit.
cooking.
Son of a bitch. We
Yeah,
just
that's
did an
fucking-
etymology.
That's the good shit right there.
Anyways, I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Let's go with a bleat because that's hilarious.
Okay.
We have a whole
I'm gonna throw it in the air and just say what was the one, the Ranger, or the fucking the third one, the
ranger.
Haven?
the Viking sounding one? No,
The Haven?
the Haven, yeah.
Okay.
Ranger. Well, we
They
got
call
a
it-
full
Go
gruff of answers to choose from there.
We did.
Mhm.
Okay, let us go
Tell you
over
know
the
what fucking
answers.
gruff- You better know what a
see
gruff
if
is, even if it's wrong.
we-
Someone better fucking know. Or I'm gonna be
As
gruff.
humans, we are born with 2 natural fears. One of them is falling, and the other one is loud noises.
Damn.
John Mark off to a strong start.
Mm-hmm.
Strong start.
That is very.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense if you are around dogs when there's fireworks. You know, it's like obviously that they don't know what's
Something
going
is
on.
wrong
They don't,
here.
you know what I mean? So it's just, I think the fact that it's a loud thing that's somewhere, it's like,
I mean,
what the fuck
danger.
is that? So it's like, I
Sure.
think most animals, including us, have that to some
No,
extent.
for sure. As a child, I think, or a baby, would be kind of scared of noise.
All right.
Question 2. At times, this can be hotter than the surface of the sun. Sometimes it can be up to 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. And we were talking about lightning.
God damn it.
Crack.
All right.
John Mark and Lyle popping a point apiece. Puts John Mark at 2 and Lyle at 1.
Lightning's bullshit. I don't buy that. The
Question
answer
3.
was all wrong. All right. Well, I ain't looking good for this round.
No, you're not. Especially as we get to question 3, which was while you're sleeping and or dreaming, it is impossible to sneeze. You actually can't sneeze in your sleep because the way your mouth is, the way the air is traversing through your body and during deep sleep or some shit like that. You're not actually.
But haven't you woken
you
yourself
can't-
up with the sneeze?
I've been awake, like on the verge of. Like, I've never sneezed in my sleep. I can't recall ever doing that.
I feel like I sneeze in my sleep. I feel like I defy science.
You wouldn't know.
I'm just so unique and quirky.
That's true. You wouldn't fucking know, bro. Just sleep through it.
I've woken myself up laughing though.
I'm quirky.
Quirky. Lyle,
Laughing,
big sneeze.
screaming. I've done all that shit. Woken up crying. Have you ever done that? Have you woken up crying?
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, maybe when
Shitting,
I was
whatever.
4. Huh.
Lyle tied with John Mark here. As
Have you ever woken up vomiting? Because that's horrible.
Woof.
Yes.
What else can we do while we're
Those have
sleeping,
been
guys?
drinking days back then. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. What is a group of goats called?
Oh, fuck, here it is.
Well, it's not called a Haven, Lyle. I'm sorry, buddy. It's not called a Trip. Ronster. It's not called a Gruff. That was one I came up with, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
It is indeed called a Bleat, though. Making John Mark
so
our
stupid.
winner this week with 3 fucking points.
That is
Nice
so
job,
stupid.
sir.
We don't say, hey, there goes a honk of geese. Look, a roar of lions.
It's a flock of ducks.
Yeah. Oh my god, that sounds dope.
Flock of ducks.
What else do we got up there?
I don't know.
There goes a ribbit of frogs. Where else do we do
cats.
this? A meow of cats. No,
That sounds great.
bullshit. Okay, now I need to
should
know what a
start
gruff is. What's a gruff?
Let me fucking.
Isn't it like the back part of a dog?
Can you ask your AI boyfriend?
Does it have anything to do with their little
Rothschild.
beards?
Rothschild, honey, what's a gruff? I already closed him.
Well,
As an adjective, it's a rough and low in pitch voice, or abrupt manner to be gruff.
3 billy
Penetrate
goats.
a gruff exterior, and you'll find him affable. Used in the sentence there.
those are fancy.
But what is gruff in relation to goats, if anything?
Nothing.
Or
I
is
made it
just-
up. Oh, I don't know. It's just part of the.
No,
story.
but we're talking about
What does
the
that
old
title of the book
the
mean? Or story?
I don't know.
poem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's look it
I
up.
don't
know.
What does
Ask AI.
I'm not a poemologist, all right? Jesus.
AI will tell us.
Billy
The future
Goats
is
gruff?
bright.
I already closed AI. I want to wake him back up. The phrase 3 billy goats gruff refers to a Norwegian folktale, and the name gruff is actually a mistranslation. There we go. The original Norwegian title, meaning the 3 billy goats bruise, is a family name that translates to tuft of hair on the forehead of domesticated livestock. In the English version, bruise was incorrectly translated as gruff. Well, we never had a fucking chance with this. we never stood a chance in knowing what that fucking meant. Huh.
See, I was thinking it was their little goatees,
Tuft of
if
hair,
you will.
yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I think
I
think people
was
use it
looking
that
at the
way.
wrong tuft, so I guess
Although that,
there was something in there that
I bet
made
because it sounds like
sense.
scruff.
Yeah, scruff,
That is
gruff,
definitely
yeah.
scruff. 3 billy goats scruff. I wonder if a lot of people think that that's what it is. 3 billy goats scruff.
I bet you could find someone out there.
Well, why didn't we retranslate it back? We're going to keep it at gruff, which nobody knows the meaning of. All right.
Well, now we do. Now we do. We
We
can
know.
proselytize the word.
Now we know
We're
it.
doing it right now.
Hey, man, you don't have to be gruff with me. I don't think that's going to play well. My AI date glass suggestion better come up with something smoother than, hey, don't be so gruff.
Wasn't there like back in the day on ABC? Wasn't there like a detective dog that would keep you off drugs?
McGruff.
Yeah.
McGruff. The mad
McGruff?
dog.
McGruff, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Take a bite out of crime. Oh, the fucking 80s were a trip. Not a
Good
trip of
time.
goats, but a trip all the same. All right. Well, English is dumb. Confirmed. All right, y'all. Well, let's get on out of here. We will
Boogie boogie.
tune in next week. We'll be talking about 9/11. We'll do our best to get together one more time this month. I think if we can aim for at least one night of recording, get 2 episodes, rock and roll, then we can guarantee we shouldn't miss a full month ever. We can get together one night at least. Maybe that should be our new aim, and then we can. We'll get together on top of that. But because I missed you guys, and this one kind of flew by because there was some big stuff that we had to get caught up on that first episode. So
For sure.
all right, y'all. Well, that was fun. Tune in next week, 9/11. Keep us posted on more tomfoolery with the house. Hope to hear more of those stories and maybe some more recordings.
Oh man, I wish you would have had like some kind of weird experience that you could share because that'd be awesome.
Totally. Just ghost punching there in the fucking face. No big deal.
Well, I came out of the shower one day and fucking all of a sudden I got punched in the face by a fucking ghost.
Punchers.
Other than that, it was just a normal Monday.
All right, guys. See you next
All right,
time.
Night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
That man's name, William H. Frog.
With a PH. Well, Billy Frog changed the world that night.